Hi, gay is not sin. And Jesus isn't asking the gay person to change and be straight. Now we're at parts 8 and 9, because these two verses of the 14 verses mean the same. And they are Leviticus 18 and 22 and Leviticus 20 verse 13. So that's chapter 18 verse 22 and chapter 20 verse 13. And these say, a man shall not lie with man as with womankind. And this was one of my most difficult verses. It took about 8 years before I finally got down to some manner of means to understand what it meant and get the breakdown of the Hebrew language in there. But I had a pretty good handle on it, because guess what? Gay is not sin. So any verse that is taught that gay is sin is going to turn out not to be sin, even the most hardest to understand. And there was a couple of verses that was extremely hard to understand, and or 3 verses, and these are 2 of them. The man lying with man, because it seems like there's no room for error here, because it is very clear, a man and a man. How can you get more clear than that? But my policy and my theory and my belief in the truth that gay is not sin, and I had a good reason to believe it, not only that I am gay, but that because, for instance, the word sodomite, that's 7 of the 14 verses used to condemn gays. 7 of them. And they mean male temple prostitutes. So you already eliminate 7 verses from the doctrine against gays. And a couple of the other ones, like gang rape, doesn't even come close to condemning gay people. I mean, gang rape is simply not how you say gay is sin. So, we're already well on our way of, that's 8 of the verses right there. 9 of the verses, well, one, then of course the Adam and Steve thing, which I did in another part, it's there's so much Bible, and to rely on one verse and take it so far out of context and not relate to any other verses in the Bible, and to make a doctrine out of a verse, just because something is not said doesn't mean that it's, well, we're not talking about Adam and Eve in this one. So what about these 2, one man with man? Well, we got womankind there. So if you don't even go into the original language, you got womankind. And you do find out what the Hebrew for womankind is, and it's sort of a significant start. It says adulterous. So and if you study the Bible on itself, and you use other ancient doctrines which could have been in the Bible, and follow the train, what we call study the Bible on itself. That means when you read a verse, you go find similar verses, and you can get a good idea of how this word is being used. And this word womankind is being used as a sexually immoral woman. And God does consider or use as example His people as His bride. You're married to Jesus. We get married to Him. He's the groom. And so God uses marriage often as a way to show His relationship. And so when you are unfaithful to Him, then you're committing adultery to God. And this is the kind of woman it is. This woman that is womankind is not a wife of a husband. So in comparing like a gay couple to a married straight couple, this is not the comparison being made here. It is talking about a man that is married, but he goes and has sex with a married woman. He's committing adultery. This is the kind of woman, when you read the definition of womankind. An abomination is another word. Abomination is used many times in the Bible, and there's probably 5 or 6 forms of the word. And each form is slightly different in meaning, but you can look up all the definitions in the entire Bible and find that every single form except one of the word abomination has to be used relating to acts done to other gods. And the one verse in the Bible which happens to be before Leviticus, there's only one use of the word abomination before Leviticus 18, and it's still in Leviticus, but it is a verse that says that don't eat food that has been consecrated to other gods, because it's an abomination. Well, this abomination can mean generally what people that think gay is sin use for Leviticus. That is just disgusting. It has nothing to do with God or something. It's just a disgusting, hated thing. This is what this word before Leviticus chapter 18, the only use of a form of the word abomination that can be just a disgusted thing. But it is used in representing eating food sanctified to other gods. So when you're using the word abomination, you can't just arbitrarily just say, well, if God hates it, then I hate it. So we got these couple of words already in the sentence that doesn't define a gay couple, because gay couples, sure, they're just as human as you are, people, and they are out there fooling around and doing all the little hanky-pankies they probably shouldn't be doing, but just like you want to go and date somebody, you see pretty face or whatever it is, you want to go out with somebody, and sometimes you cheat on your wife, and you divorce and all that. These are in huge numbers in heterosexuals. But you know all that, and you don't hardly consider this as something that's going to get you out of heaven. You may be sorry for some of them, but generally speaking, you all are doing it just about in some way or another. So you can't really use this to say gay is sin, because you might catch some gay people doing what you do. So you cannot do that. Now, the word man here is very specific. It's not brought to English. So when you really do look into the Hebrew, you find that this man means a practicing straight man. In other words, that Hebrew has a word for a heterosexual man that enjoys sex with the opposite sex. In other words, women. And so what this verse is saying, I'm really out of time almost, is that God is saying to the Hebrew men, do not stop off at the local fertility temples for sex with their fertility gods. And because this is what they were doing. The historical record does indeed say that this is what the Hebrew men did in both Moses' day and all the way up through Jesus' day. This was fairly common for the Hebrew men. People, come on now. Gays do not behave this way. 630 million gays, and they don't behave this way. They behave like you. They meet, they date, they fall in love, and they get married. If you don't know Jesus, turn to him. Say, Jesus, I believe you're the Son of God. Forgive me my sins and come into my life. I believe God rose you on the 3rd day. Okay, that's it for today, and I will continue on.